Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of Bowling Green City Council. Kay, would you please begin by calling the roll?
Osbacher.
Here.
Gordon.
Here.
Jeffers.
Here.
McComber.
Here.
Roland.
Here.
Seeliger.
Here.
Zanfordino.
Here.
The minutes of the meeting that was held on February 6th, 2017 were presented to council prior to this evening's meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The minutes are approved as presented. Kay, is there correspondence this evening?
There's no correspondence.
Thank you. We move quickly into our official reports. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of council, and all assembled. I think this is the second council meeting in a row that we've had representation here from the Boy Scouts of America. Is that right? Would you care to identify yourselves? Which troop are you? 142? 422. Bowling Green, right? Way to go, guys. Thank you for coming. I hope you find this experience educational and maybe helpful to the merit badge process. Okay? Well, the first thing tonight, members of council and audience here, it's going to be my honor to do a proclamation here. This is a very significant time in the history of our community. And I'm going to ask if Carmen Concanon and Banks Dishman would please come forward here. It's tomorrow, right? Yeah, right, tomorrow. I don't want to mix up with our council meetings and so forth, but tomorrow marks the 150th anniversary of the Sentinel Tribune. What an accomplishment. And as you know, Carmen, you know my background a little bit, growing up in a small-town daily newspaper. It's near and dear to my heart. I know Banks knows because my father did a lot of the things that you do and so forth. So printer's ink is in my vein. I came into this world with it, and I love it. And I'm a great believer in the freedom of the press and what the press does to help to keep the public informed. And I won't go into sermonizing on that topic, but needless to say, there are some things going on in the world that cause me some distress because of the way the press is being bashed. Whatever, use your own descriptive terms and so forth. So right now, it's my honor to say, offer on behalf of the citizens of Bowling Green, a proclamation, whereas the Sentinel Tribune is celebrating 150 years of business in the news industry. And on the occasion of this significant anniversary, we pause to recognize the important contribution of the Sentinel Tribune to Bowling Green and Wood County. And whereas the Sentinel was founded on February 22nd, 1867, with the motto, "Be just to all mankind, and fear not the malice of the unjust." And whereas the Sentinel and the Tribune merged in 1906, creating what we now know as the Sentinel Tribune. And whereas the Sentinel Tribune has been owned by the Haswell family for 118 years and continues to be operated by the fourth generation of the family, namely Carmen, and whereas the Sentinel Tribune is a valuable member of and partner within this great community, committed to providing citizens the information they need and helping businesses grow by delivering local coverage that is accessible to all customers anywhere, anytime. Now, therefore, I, Richard A. Edwards, Mayor of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio, do hereby proclaim February 21, 2017 as Sentinel Tribune Day. Carmen, congratulations to you and your family. Please tell your father I said hello. Banks, thank you so very much, and very pleased to. And your mother as well. So, okay, thank you. Okay, you're welcome. As you all know, lots of good things are always going on in our community. And I don't know if you had a chance, as I did yesterday, to be over on campus. But what a scene. I don't know how many hands I ended up shaking and so forth. This is not a good time of the year or season to be shaking lots of hands, but I wanted to make sure that people in terms of our city, felt welcome. I think there were probably close to 1,900 participants in yesterday's program, and at the university, President's Day Open House 2017. And I've been involved in a number of these over the years and that, but I don't know if it's the weather or what, but I mean, the place was just jam-packed with people, and all the mechanisms were operating seemingly very smoothly. Buses were delivering people all over, and lots of smiling faces and so forth, and lots of good comments about our community. And every now and then someone might even, ask a question or two and so forth, but it's so often people say, oh, we love your community. It's so wonderful to come here, but I saw people from many other states and, of course, throughout Ohio. And I know some of my friends do a little bit of a yawn because I always because I know Ohio a little bit like the back of my hand, like some of you do, so I can always identify where some of these people are from. But it's kind of fun to do that. But it was a very, very good day. And I also want to mention here that, and I said something at our retreat on Saturday there, that I'm especially grateful to your president because I don't know how hard I twisted his arm or what, but he is going on the executive committee of TMCOG, the Toledo Metropolitan Area Council of Governments. I'm grateful for that. I served there for 3 years on that board and served as vice chair. And so, Mike, I really appreciate your working this into your schedule, not only for the executive committee, but also the board of trustees of TMCOG. So thank you very much. I'm going to touch on a topic here that is somewhat bothersome here. And so you have to bear with me a little bit on two different aspects of the report, especially this right now. I can't begin to tell you how disappointed and chagrined I am to report the resignation of Dr. Eric Myers as chair of the steering committee for the Worcester Green. A copy of Eric's note to me and my response is being shared for your information. And I think that has been shared with you, as I think Mike indicated that. As you have heard me state on numerous occasions, Eric's leadership and the work of the Green Space Task Force was stellar. Both Eric and the task force devoted countless hours to the process of investigating all aspects of the property at the corner of South Church and West Worcester and assessing its use as green space. The task force addressed in full every charge I gave to them on May 6, 2015. Months and months of study and deliberations, public discussion sessions, and further reviews, as prescribed by council, resulted in a basic plan as recommended by the task force by City Council. And that basic plan was unanimously accepted by you, City Council, on October 3, 2016. Many members of the original task force agreed to continue with the process of developing the Worcester Green, and we're in the process of adding members to the steering committee and forming special committees, namely design, fundraising, publicity, marketing. In addition to the steering committee, and as you know, I met with them last Wednesday, the design committee headed by Lloyd Triggs is meeting tomorrow, and I will join with them for a review of some of the basic steps involved with refining the design of some of the basic elements proposed for the Worcester Green, not taking it all apart, but some of the basic elements, so forth, including and namely the entry gate and the pavilion. The design work must be completed before the activation of a publicity committee and a fundraising committee, although some funds have already been committed to the project. It goes without stating that the process of securing the green space as a public green has been a lengthy and at times cumbersome and even conflicted process, especially given the sincere desire by some citizens to locate a municipal building on that site. I sincerely hope that the process can move forward in a timely fashion in keeping with the basic work by those citizens who devoted so much time to the project in the belief that a public green will significantly enhance community life in Bowling Green. Now, over the dinner hour, and after receiving a number of phone calls today and pondering different aspects of this, and I may be foolish in this regard, I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't want to see all of Eric's good leadership get pushed aside or get led down a wrong path. I've already put so much time and effort into this, my own standpoint. I don't want to be, I'm not speaking selfishly, but I do this gladly, as you would. And I believe so firmly that this little 1.7 acres over there, the green space that we've come to love, it's already been put to good use. I know some people say, well, just keep it green. You know, it's serving a real neat function right now, but we like to enhance it maybe just a little bit. But in any event, I see that little piece of ground as being integral to our neighborhood development, the CAP process here that we've talked about. A lot of you have put time and effort in. We've talked about it. Now we've got some things going. I see it as integral to the further developments of downtown Bowling Green. This is so important to our downtown area. And just as to add to our welcoming environment as a community, which I think is just so incredibly important. And that's the thing I heard when I was out on campus yesterday there. People said time and again, oh, I feel so welcome in your community, going to downtown, restaurants, so forth there. And of course, as you would, it's just wonderful to hear. And so we really do have a lot at stake here. And so I have decided, as I said, it was over the lunch hour, and I talked to Nadine about it, and I've talked with Lori and Mike. I'm going to take over that chairmanship of that steering committee and to try to keep that ball going. As you know, I've spent a lot of time doing this kind of thing over the years, and especially with the Simpson Garden Park campaign and some of the other fundraising efforts we've had in the community. But I don't want to see people start taking a walk out of frustration and so forth, or because Eric did so much. He put so much of himself into it. And he's not one to complain at all. In fact, I haven't heard any words of complaint. He said, I want to stay, I'm committed to the process, I want to stay involved, and he's already made a financial contribution to it and so forth. So I'm really grateful, but I want to keep what he started. Of course, he's teaching at the university now too, but to keep that going. So I'll be working closely with you in this regard, and we'll be hearing more, and we'll be reporting on it and talking about it and so forth. So I'm going to give it, as we like to say, the old college try. So we'll try our very best. Now I'm going to shift gears here, and I apologize for the length of this report here, but we've been dealing with a variety of issues here, and they're critically important to our community in a variety of ways. And I just want to say that in response, at our last meeting of City Council on February 6th, and in previous sessions of Council, statements and allegations were made during lobby visitations about the proposed Nexus natural gas pipeline project, its proximity to the BG fault line, and the interrelated possible harmful effects to the nearby Bowling Green water treatment plant along the Maumee River. I have taken these factual statements and combined allegations under review. As you know, in late January, I directed letters of concern to our elected representatives in Washington, Congressman Robert Latta and U.S. Senators Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown. I have received acknowledgments from Representative Latta and Senator Brown, and assurances that they have sent my letter of inquiry and request for assistance to FERC. I also directed a letter of concern to Nexus, and on February 10th, I received a response outlining the various steps involved with their environmental review. While I am eager to receive more detailed reports from a Washington perspective, I have been pursuing my own line of inquiry, given my background and my commitment to adhere to good science and not unsubstantiated political statements, although well-intentioned and sincere. Although I am not a scientist, I have had the good fortune to work closely with any number of outstanding scientists in my administrative and teaching life at 4 large public universities, and in my role as special assistant to the director of the National Science Foundation, and here I'm referring to the late Dr. W.D. McElroy, the eminent microbiologist from Johns Hopkins University, and in my association with the late member of Congress, Charles A. Mosier of Oberlin and Oberlin College, and his work with the original Committee on Science and Astronautics. In short, I take science very seriously. In this review process, I have reached out, among others, to Dr. Charles Onash, Professor Emeritus of Geology at BGSU, a researcher who has probably studied the BG Fault more than anyone else on record. I have also reached out to Larry Wickstrom, President of Wickstrom Geoscience of Worthington, Ohio, and a nationally prominent geologist. Mr. Wickstrom is the former chief of the Ohio Division of the Ohio Geological Survey. In that important role, he warned of some of the potential dangers associated with fracking in southeastern Ohio, and as a result, he lost his job. He's a very, very creative, dedicated scientist. Also, I have reached out to another well-respected geologist, Mark Baranowski, who recently retired from the Ohio Geological Survey, and we have agreed to talk later this week. In short, I am pursuing a number of lines of inquiry based on science, and therefore this report should be considered incomplete pending the receipt of more scientific data. I can, however, report the following facts. The BG Fault is at least as old as 450 million years. 450 million years. The most recent activity on the fault can be no younger than the 10,000 to 20,000-year-old glacial sediments that are undisturbed by the fault. The BG fault line is some 700 feet from the northeast edge of the reservoir, adjacent to the water treatment plant, and extends from the surface where it is exposed in the bed of the Maumee River to a depth of several thousand feet. Except in the river, the fault is covered by glacial sediments. The BG fault line is part of an extensive fault network in Ohio and is even located outside the Bowling Green city limits on the west side in the Sand Ridge area. There is an extensive networking of pipelines crossing or intersecting with the various fault lines, including the fault line in our immediate area, and there have been no reportable complications or difficulties. Interestingly, the high-pressure gas transmission line along Mercer Road in Bowling Green was installed in the early 1950s. The pipeline provides natural gas for most of the city, BGSU, and the gas turbine generators on the north edge of the city, and is carefully monitored. Research shows that pipelines are the safest method for transporting natural gas. In its entire history, dating back to the early 1960s, the BG water treatment plant has never experienced any difficulties related to the BG fault. The water treatment plant is carefully and systematically checked and regulated by the Ohio EPA. The city has invested heavily in the reverse osmosis process, membrane treatment, and will soon be enhancing and upgrading that process. Today, a water line connecting the water treatment plant to the city of Waterville was officially activated. In fact, it went off without a hitch. It was all on television tonight and so forth. And that's a line under the river. Waterville constructed a water line from the water treatment plant under the Maumee River without any difficulties or impediments. The Ohio Geological Survey has identified all of the karst, that is natural sinkhole areas, in Ohio. But unlike my home area of Bellevue, where Sandusky, Huron, Seneca, and Erie counties intersect, there are no probable karst areas in Wood County. And I've given you a map that was put out by the survey here, and you can see for yourself. In summary, the probability of any complications developing with the water treatment process and the water supply to Bowling Green in relationship to the fault and the proposed gas line is extremely low given all of the foregoing points. The probability will never be zero, and that's Dr. Onesh stresses that time and time again. It's a probability factor. As another geologist expressed, if we were having this conversation about some areas in southeastern Ohio or in some other parts of the United States, the discussion and the probability factor might be quite different. And so more information will be forthcoming, so please consider this an incomplete and interim report, and I appreciate your indulgence as I went through this here. But we've been doing a lot of investigating and trying to reach out to some of the best minds we know and who have been cited by others for their knowledge. And I'm especially grateful to Charlie Onesh. Dr. Onesh is a really special kind of person who loves this community. And I said, Charlie, if you see anything that might put this community at risk, please let me know. Because we're all thinking, the same. We're trying to do the best for our community, and we have a lot invested in our water treatment plant. And it's a happy day for the citizens of Waterville. So, but we're lucky we were able to help them out. So thank you very much. If you have any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to try my best to answer.
Other questions for the mayor?
Mr. Mayor, just one question. First, I want to thank you for the actions that you've taken to date to investigate this issue and do our due diligence as a city. Given that this is provisional information, I guess my question would be, do you have any thoughts about why we don't have a unanimous consensus on this subject just yet? Because we've heard some testimony from some folks with a background in this that says one thing, and now we have some folks that are saying another. So.
Right. No, that's a very good question, and I don't want to in any way bring into question what they were saying. It brought different perspectives here. They all do point to Dr. Onesh as the expert, and that's what I took seriously. And in fact, Dr. Onesh hired the person that did the study there, and he was an assistant professor, and I think a very promising assistant professor there. But I'll let the geologist talk about that, and I'm not going to second guess any of them. I think they're very sincere in what they're trying to look at, and maybe look at different aspects. But the scientific data is pretty clear. It's very, very clear, in this regard. Doesn't mean that something can happen. No, it's like someone said to me, could the city be hit by a meteor? Or could we walk out? Of course, there's always that possibility, because we know that it's happened in some parts of the world, a meteor, but it's very, very unlikely, and so forth. So that's why I say it's incomplete. I have several others to talk to that are held in very high regard by other geologists, and I'm just grateful that they're willing to put some time and effort into this. And so I don't know how long it's going to take before I can get some additional data back to you, but it will continue to go on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to say thank you for the very complete, informative report on the pipeline issue. Obviously, you've been very active in seeking information, and we appreciate that. We'll be eagerly anticipating any additional information that you can come up with. As you're aware, there have been some calls for some action, on behalf of this body, and I think that it's somewhat debatable, at this point, whether there is any legitimate action for this body to take in the form of legislation or anything that could potentially impact the outcome of this situation. So I think that your leadership from the executive branch standpoint is very important, and I do appreciate you taking the time and effort you have to update us on what you have found. And secondly, as it relates to the green space, also thank you for your leadership in stepping up and assuming a leadership role in that process. I think it's fair if I were to say that everyone on council remains committed to a successful outcome of the development of that space. I think that we all recognize, as you do, the benefit for that space, in our community. So I'm hopeful that perhaps you and I can speak in the next couple of days, and we can discuss options that may be that might present themselves for council to continue to support that process, as well in some way, shape, or form. Because I think that obviously we all remain committed to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think to your first point, if I may, Mr. President, I hope you all heard me and read there. If we were dealing with some other areas in Ohio, and the geologists have said this, we would be having a different kind of conversation, there's no doubt. The area that I grew up in, I grew up with a natural sinkhole right in my front yard. Nadine's family had farms out adjacent to Seneca Caverns, underground river. We know the perils over there growing up. A lot of my classmates and others and so forth have the indications of cancer are pretty prevalent over in that area. We can't quite connect all the dots yet, but a lot of people have tried, but we know, and thank goodness that the Ohio EPA stepped in there in the late 60s, early 70s, and so forth, and that really helped a great deal. But natural sinkholes are a big factor, and of course we know about the areas in southeastern Ohio where they have had some problems there. There's no doubt. And they've been warned. So, thank you.
I would like to also take an opportunity to ask you to please send a sincere thank you of our council to those who have been serving on this planning committee. I know a lot of them have done a lot of hard work, and in addition to the chair, others have committed an awful lot. And I think it's very important that council send their support to those that are working on this, because they have already given a lot of time, and we need to recognize.
Well, thank you, and I would encourage you all to reach out to some of them. Not all of them elected to stay on, but some were getting discouraged by some of the things they've been reading, and because of all the time and effort that's gone into this, all the public gathering, information sessions, sharing of information, and but I'll let them speak for themselves, on that. But we try to shore up as best we possibly can, and. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I don't really have a question. I just have a comment. I appreciate the work you've done to present this information tonight. I would just like to say, from my opinion, the information has really not been clear. It's been mixed. There's been several geologists that expressed grave concerns, and now we have a few that are expressing lesser concerns. But I just feel that's important to say.
No, I understand that, and it's very sincere. On the parts of what people were trying to offer some cautionary notes, and I tried to focus my investigation, my points of inquiry on strictly the interrelationship with the water treatment plant there. Taking on the rest of the whole thing, a variety of other opinions, or maybe, and data that would, so forth. I don't know, other than that I've been impressed with the extent to which a lot of good, hard research has gone into this, and data gathering, and by the preeminent person in with this information. So, I have to go with the person who's done all this good work, and I'm reaching out to others. I said it's not fully complete yet, but believe me, I'm like you. I don't want to see any risks taken that would, jeopardize of what we've done with our water system, because we're lucky, thanks to people that have gone on, previous councils and administrations and so forth, the independent boards of public utility. We're a little bit different than other communities. You know this, and but I think in a way we should be so grateful for that kind of investment, because some of us even remember maybe 30 years ago the water wasn't all that terrific, and it had and people really rallied around and made some heavy investments there, and a lot of good voices and good efforts went into it. Thank you.
Dick.
Thank you. Municipal Administrator, Ms. Treader.
Good evening. Brian O'Connell was unable to be with us this evening. However, earlier today I heard from Daryl Stockberger that the solar project has reached 20 megawatts output peaks during 4 out of the last 5 days. And as you may recall, 20 is its max. So it's the sun has been shining. We've all been in much better moods, I think, and the solar field itself is doing well. So you may have heard that earlier today, our crews hit an unmarked natural gas line at the intersection of Conneaut and Lafayette. That line has been repaired, and there was a small evacuation around the area. As always, our emergency crews are so fantastic. They show up, they're professional, they get organized, and they respond. And all of our city crews that were out there work cooperatively with Columbia Gas to fix that line as quickly as possible. And the last thing on my list, Mr. President, is to request an executive session at the end of your meeting. The 2 topics are labor negotiations and real estate. And we would not anticipate any action following that executive session.
Very good. Thank you. Are there questions for Ms. Treader? Thank you, Lori. Planning Director, Ms. Saylor.
Good evening again. Thank you for your continued participation with the Community Action Plan. Since we last met, we had an open house at the courthouse on February 7th. That was very well attended. But we still want to make sure that the constituents in your different wards are looking at these concept plans, really taking in the ideas. So they are on display on the 2nd floor. We anticipate that they'll be moved up to the 3rd floor at some time to rotate them with different, folks who visit the building. We also have them on our website, so we encourage all folks again to review those, provide us feedback. It could be by physically writing it down and mailing it to us, or directly through our website. We're trying to really cover all bases, or just emailing us. I also have handouts too. If anybody would like one, I have some tonight with me. But again, it's the concept plans and the feedback form. Again, trying to make it very easy for everyone to access those. We had close to around 75 people that attended, so that was nice attendance, but we know it was a lot of information to take in. So we want your time to digest that and let us know what elements you liked and what didn't like, or any other ideas that you may have. Additionally, we have posted our, for lack of better terminology, our co-enforcement handout on our website. I also have copies with me if anybody would like any, but we renamed it to the Good Neighbor Guide. We wanted that to really be a more positive name than co-enforcement handout. So we do anticipate one other edit closer to when the Community Action Plan is complete. At that time, we will inherit that handout from Camiros, our consultant, and go from there for edits. But so far, we've got a lot of nice feedback on that. We appreciate hearing any other ideas. Additionally, I am requesting a Committee of the Whole meeting on Monday, March 20th at 6 o'clock. This will be for the purpose of a presentation from the Wood County Health District. As you recall, our 5-year survey was due to be completed in 2016. So those results have now been compiled, and we will hear about that evening if that is okay with Mr. President.
Are we aware there'd be nothing else that evening, I wouldn't think?
We're fine.
Great. Would you get that on our schedule and send out a calendar invite for council members?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank
And
you.
lastly, just a quick little snippet of zoning permits. We are a little bit ahead this year at 23 permits so far. We've actually had six single-family housing starts compared to 4 at this time last year. So we're seeing a nice little pickup of single-family house builds. So that is it. Unless you have
good.
questions.
Questions for Ms. Saylor?
So Heather, you say the edited version of the Good Neighbor Guide will come out when the report is
The
completed,
consultants
or-
don't want to constantly edit the document, so they would like to wait towards the end of the community action plan process. They're only doing one more edit, and then they will hand it over to us. So right now, we're taking any feedback if we missed anything. Basically, the co-enforcement handout was based on what the consultants heard during different group visits and different one-on-one interviews. So they tried to capture all those top 15 items that people hear about concerns and who to contact.
So the final edit, though, will be also considered by the city officials and council as opposed, in addition to Camiros?
Yes,
The final
sure.
version?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Great.
And obviously, we'll inherit that, so we can keep that up long-term, since it's a great tool that we can build on.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather. Parks and Recreation Director, Ms. Otley.
I don't have much to report tonight. I just wanted to clear up the rumors that the pool is opening this week. But in all seriousness, this amazing weather has seen a little more activity in the parks than normal this time of year. But that doesn't mean that things like drinking fountains and certain restrooms that are closed for the season will open. Anyone who's lived in Northwest Ohio longer than about a week knows that, April, probably on the day of the adult egg scramble, we'll get 5 inches of snow. And that happened last year. True story. So those things are still shut down. And other than that, unless you have questions of me, that was really it.
Even with snow, Chris, I think Sandy still found that egg that had the 1,000.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I almost forgot. Yeah.
We'll try to see if we can get that much
Yeah.
sponsorship this year so we can have that as a prize. That's a good goal.
Questions for Kristen? Thank you. Mr. O'Connell is absent this evening. Public Works Director, Mr. Kraft. Or I'm sorry, I skipped Miss. Go ahead. You can come on up.
We can't forget Mike.
Mr. Marsh, you're gonna give your time?
I was one of the guinea pigs.
I'm sorry, Mr. Marsh, do you have a report for us this evening?
It was just that he shut
Yes.
his gas off.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll bring up Public Works Director, Mr. Kraft.
Have nothing really earth-shattering. Saturday I shared with you the graphic that we were going to put on the new recycling logo. So I just want to let people know that if they see a new graphic on the recycling container in the coming weeks, the city had a new graphic made, updated. The old one was getting kind of faded a little bit, and we added new information on there. We've been, as you know, working with the recycling center on the big problem of having too much trash in the recycling containers out there. And so it's a little bit more of an educational piece. We are ordering some new containers. They should be coming in soon. It already has that same graphic embossed on there. So if you want to see the new graphic, you go to our home website. Joe has a link on there. It says a new recycling sticker, and you can see that on there. So if you get home and you see a new sticker on your container, we put it on there, and it has a little bit more information than in the past. So that's my report, and any more questions of me?
Yeah. One of the items on our agenda is a repaving project that includes Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to mention that after our land use plan, we began talking about bicycle lanes, and there was some discussion that Main Street might be a candidate for reconfiguration. There's not going to be any reconfiguration.
Correct. It's simply a mill and repave as it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to push for that now. I just wanted to clarify that. Now we have a process in place for evaluating streets for complete streets. But I think the gist of the conversations I was involved with at that time was that if we really wanted north-south bike lanes, we might want to go off Main Street. There are a lot of things to consider that you don't really have to, not asking you to go through, but in the opinions of a number of people, it just wasn't going to work on Main Street. So, and apparently that opinion held true. So,
Yeah.
that's just a statement.
Yeah, there's a question in there, but
Yeah.
The pavement up there it's been there since 2000, 2001 with Harris 2000. And as you know, the old trolley tracks are still on there. It's a concrete base. Severe freeze and thaw in winters, it starts to reveal itself. And the goal here is to get the downtown repaved, along with upgrading the ADA ramps, because right now they don't have the truncated domes that you're supposed to have. That was current at the time, and when we do that in 2019, we'll improve those to make that more ADA code up to code. And, get the downtown looking good. Now, what that doesn't do, it doesn't pave East Court, doesn't pave Clough Street, doesn't pave Washington. So on our own, this is through the TMACOG program, we would have to look at getting those streets done either the same time or shortly thereafter on those other downtown streets. So they're all about the same the same shape because they're all paved at the same time about 20 years ago.
Any other questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you. That completes our official reports. We move on to the reading or the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber.
from the Finance Committee, I have an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2017 and ending December 31, 2017. I have an ordinance amending and adopting Section 33.18 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio, relative to salaried employees not subject to overtime pay. And I have an ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator and the utilities director to seek qualifications and/or advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services relating to improvements for State Route 25/64 pavement rehabilitation and utility improvements.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have any council committee reports this evening?
From the Planning, Zoning, Economic Development Committee, we held a brief public hearing for 2 properties on Wooster Street that will be requested that we rezone those to B5.
Thank you, Bruce. Additional council reports or committee reports? Great. We move forward to lobby visitation. At this point, we welcome anyone in attendance who is interested in speaking to council to do so. If you are interested, we ask that you first approach the microphone to my left and clearly state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephanie Lowers, and I'm here representing my parents, Jim and Ruth Heider, who live at 811 West Wooster, Bowling Green, Ohio. And I'm very thankful this evening that there's so many in attendance, Ms. Treader, Mr. Kraft, Mr. Fawcett, Mr. Edwards. Forgive me for my nervousness. I am an attorney. I'm used to public speaking, but I'm so passionate about what I want to talk to you about tonight that I'm a little bit overcome with emotion. I'd like to start out just recalling what Mr. Edwards talked about earlier with his proclamation, with the Sentinel's motto, "Be just to all mankind." And that's what I'd really like that the council do when it comes to my parents and what I'm going to ask you to do this evening. By way of a little bit of background, we've had some issues going on for a number of years with the Public Works Department here in the city of Bowling Green. And I use the term Public Works a little bit loosely because I think it's more like a city works. Because as it relates to my parents, I don't think that they've really spent a lot of time considering what the needs are. My parents are handicapped. They're elderly. They're disabled. And for a great number of years, they've had container carry service. If you're not familiar with 811 West Wooster, if you go down Wooster Street, it's at the corner of Winfield. It's the old Ray Doer / Valentine home. My parents bought it back in 1988. It, of course, sits back off of Wooster Street. It's up on a little hill. And for years, there was a very nice man from the Public Works Department, back when it was still Public Works, that used to come up and get the recycling or the refuse container, bring it down to the street, make sure it was emptied, take it back up and put it back where it belonged. That hasn't happened in such a nice manner for a really long time. The gentleman that's currently on that route has some kind of a problem with servicing my parents' home. And when I say that, I mean, I think everybody would agree that it's reasonable that if the weather is inclement, there's an excessive amount of snow or ice, that it's not reasonable to expect somebody to come up and get the container and bring it back down. I think my parents expect that. I expect that. I don't think there's an issue with that. The driver has refused to come up the hill to get my parents' container when it was raining, when the sun was shining, when it was snowing, even though my parents get the driveway plowed whenever there's any measurable snowfall. And even so, my little mom goes out with a little broom to clear off any space with any possible snow to make sure that it's as safe as possible for the driver to get there. The drivers even refused to go up there when there were mulberries on the driveway. The paperboy can get up there, the mail person can get up there. For some reason, the gentleman from Public Works can't get up there. Now, last August of 2016, the City Council passed an ordinance, which we not so affectionately refer to as the Heider Ordinance, because what it seems to have accomplished in its purpose is to exclude container carry service for my parents alone. And to that end, I've had a number of discussions with Mr. Fawcett, who I think is a very nice young man. I'm assuming he's younger than I am. But we haven't been able to resolve this. All I really want to accomplish tonight is for you to consider rescinding the part of the ordinance that puts either rescinding or grandfathering my parents in, because the ordinance puts a 75-foot limit to how far a driver will go to get a container and take it to the trash and empty it. To put a 75-foot limit on it essentially means there's no service for my parents there unless they can hire somebody to come and retrieve it from the hill, bring it down. And what we're talking about is about 200 feet from the driveway to where the container's stored and back down. Now, my husband's here with me tonight because he's as concerned as I am about my folks. We have measured it. We went from the street up to the top of the hill, back down. It's 200 feet. I can do it with my artificial knee and in the shape that I'm in less than a minute. Now, the reasoning that I was given for why this 75-foot ordinance was imposed, and I do have the citation if anybody's interested, if you don't recall, is that, well, potentially there would be so many homes with more than 75-foot, driveways, that it would be difficult for the city. Now, I did a public records request, and here are the handicap stops for 2017. There's 10 homes on it, including my parents. I don't think there is an unusual, actually there's 5 less than there were in 2016. We're talking about 10 homes in the city of Bowling Green that have the refuse container carry service. And if it takes less than a minute to go up and get the can, then bring it down and reverse the process, we're talking about a 5-minute commitment maybe. 5-6 minutes. Now, something else that the driver has done is the driver is really resentful of my parents asking that he actually collect their container. So he drives over the lawn. And we've made complaints about this that the city evidently has no record of, but I would really like council to see the photos. This is a 24-foot rut that he put in the lawn after after he had to start picking up again. Now see, the city had quit picking up and my parents didn't really know why. At Christmas time, we were all over there. My mom said, "Nobody's been picking up our garbage. You can't throw anything away here. Take it all home." I felt like I was at a state park where you carry in, carry out. Turns out that they were unaware of the 75-foot limit and that they needed to provide some evidence that they were handicapped, which I'd get. I think that's reasonable as well. But once they provided that and the driver had to start come and pick up again, and my parents had the can at the 75-foot mark, he drove over it. Now, my parents complained to the city. Of course, there's no record of it. When I did my public records request, I also asked for records of complaints, calls, Originally, I was sent 2, which I've called more than twice, to address this issue about their trash service. When I asked Mr. Fawcett again, are you sure that's all that there is? Because I know my dad called not that long ago to talk about the damage to the property. Somehow 4 or 5 more were found from back in 2014, 2015. All the rest of them are lost to the universe, I guess. I just kind of wanted to ask you to put yourself in a position like somebody like my folks. My dad, I would have loved to have brought him along with me tonight. There's no way he could have made it into this building. My dad has had dozens of surgeries. He's got 2 artificial knees. He's had several back surgeries. He has no feeling in one of his feet. This causes him to fall a lot. He's torn both rotator cuffs, got MRSA in it, had another surgery. He's had heart failure. He's got a pacemaker. He's been through cancer treatment. My mother, she's not strong enough to get the can down the hill. What I've asked the city to do, and I asked Mr. Fawcett to do, and I didn't get a response that addressed it specifically, was I would like city council to grandfather my parents in. If the real intention of putting the 75-foot limit in is to protect the city of Bowling Green from having an inordinate number of requests for container carry service, I get that as a legitimate reason to do it. But the service had been provided for my parents for years without issues other than the fact that the driver just doesn't want to do it. And nobody is willing to tell this driver, hey, listen, this is what we do. We serve the public. I don't understand. When I asked for the public records request, I was trying to figure out how many driveways are out there really in the city of Bowling Green that are more than the 75 feet. Nobody can tell me. Nobody could tell me. What I was told is that they thought the average driveway was probably 50 feet. So 75 was not an arbitrary amount, even though it conveniently is where the hill starts at my parents' house. And Mr. Kraft sent a letter to my parents with an aerial photo pointing that out, which I'd also like. This is his letter to my parents indicating this is all the further we're going to go to pick up your trash. So they've got to get it down this hill, which is another 120 feet. And I thought some of the correspondence inter-office was a little bit snarky from Mr. Kraft, frankly. Kind of poking fun at my dad for not sending in a copy of his handicap placard, but rather sending in the numbers, which, I get it. He didn't exactly follow the directions, but could have been a little bit nicer about it, in my opinion. The other thing that I think is interesting, because I also asked for the copy of the disciplinary record and the personnel file for the driver. There's only one performance review for this gentleman for all the years that he's worked for the city. I find that odd. I work as the assistant director at Wood County Child Support. We do employee evaluations on our folks every year. This says here that he interacts well with the public, which I find also a little comical and unsubstantiated. But really, I don't want to have to make any bigger of a pest of myself than what I am. I'm passionate about this because I've heard what a struggle it's been for my folks over the years. I've heard my mother worry about the weather report. Oh, it's going to snow again and tomorrow's trash day. They're not going to come get my trash. Oh, I can't call the city because they're going to get mad at me and they're not going to pick up my trash anymore. And that's what somebody told my mother when she called about her trash not being picked up. Well, we don't have to do that for you, Maybe we just won't do it for you anymore. And I wish, with all that's in me, that she would have written down the name of the lady that she spoke with. because I'd like to have a talk with that person. Now, one of the other things that I did in preparation for this meeting tonight is I looked at all the other addresses on the list that I gave you of the folks who have the service. There are 1, 2, 3 that are actually over the 75-foot limit. Whether they leave the can up by the garage, whether they leave it at the house, I don't really know. It could be inside the limits, outside the limits. But again, I go back to the fact that there's only 10 folks that are requesting the service in the city of Bowling Green. I have a hard time believing that the city cannot do for some folks that have been good citizens, good neighbors, who pay probably one of the highest property tax burdens given the size of their lot and the value of their home. Now, some people might think my parents are made of money because they've got this nice home. It's not necessarily so. My brother was killed in a car accident 10 years ago and left 8 children and no life insurance. My parents have been using every extra cent they have to support my brother's widow and the 8 kids since then. I just ask you to do the right thing and consider grandfathering in their property or reconsidering the 75-foot limit in the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Anyone have any
Flowers.
questions for me?
Other questions? Thank you.
Was your father a solar engineer?
Yes, he was. My father has a master's degree from Princeton. He retired from Owens, Illinois, Glass Tech Solar Cells, and he started Willard and Kelsey in an effort to try and make money, just help support my sister-in-law and the kids. Unfortunately, some of the other people that he went into business with weren't quite as motivated to do everything that needed to be done, and the Chinese kind of dumped solar panels into the market, which undercut them getting off the ground. But my dad was still holding meetings from the nursing home. My dad fell and broke his elbow 5 years ago. Has never healed. He had to have a hip graft surgery, and even then he was trying to do whatever he could to get the business going. But yeah, he's a very bright man. I hope if any of you are so inclined, might have the opportunity to reach out to my parents. They are wonderful people. You may appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Flowers. I'll get with Municipal Administrator Ms. Treader after this meeting, and we'll, I'm sure, convene a meeting with Brian Kraft and Mr. Fawcett and take a good look at the situation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Koheiser. I'm here to 1045 Varsity West, Bowling Green. Thank you, Mayor Edwards, for the commitment of your time to look into this, to really research it, and I appreciate your taking it seriously and taking the time for what you're doing. I appreciate it. I understand that we don't all believe that Nexus Pipeline could increase the likelihood of an earthquake, or that there could be openings in the karst favorable conditions 90 feet below the riverbed. However, I'm pretty sure most of us would agree that at the very least, these issues should have been evaluated as risk factors, and if Nexus had identified the fact that it was going to be going through the fault, it would have been required by federal regulation that they evaluate it. But let's put those issues aside for now and talk about 2 other important matters that also need proper analysis before the pipeline is permitted to tunnel underneath the Maumee River. As we know, Nexus failed to identify the fault as a risk factor, but it also failed to identify the existence of the Bowling Green water treatment facility itself. Nowhere does our multi-million-dollar water treatment plant appear in any Nexus documentation or analysis. That's right, our regional water source was never identified or properly evaluated as being at risk from the pipeline project, even though it sits only 800 feet away from the spot where Nexus plans to blast its way through the Bowling Green Fault. But now things get even worse when you combine those two glaring omissions with yet another Nexus oversight. Nexus is ignoring the advice of its very own geologic contractors. Last year, Fluor and Fugro performed 4 test drillings at the site, 2 on each side of the river, and conducted the high impact and concluded that high impact drilling technique that would be used to tunnel underneath the river will be high risk. Nexus failed to identify and evaluate the study's findings that existing extreme fracturing of the bedrock increases the likelihood of major problems occurring during the horizontal drilling, hydrofracturing. Yes, they will be hydrofracturing through the fault and underneath the river, and the pullback process where they pull that pipeline all the way through underneath the river. During the drilling process, which could take between 3 to 6 months, 12 to 24 million gallons of drilling fluid will be blasted into the area's bad geology and could easily migrate through the fault and other cracks and fissures, most likely contaminating groundwater and the Maumee River. Nexus insists there's nothing wrong with the Maumee River crossing. And no wonder, according to them, there is no water treatment plant, no fault, and no bad geology. The city should be demanding a halt to this project. We are asking City Council to take action because the city administration probably can't do it themselves. At this point in time, a credible motion to intervene will have to come from City Council, at least more than likely, because members of city administration have known about the pipeline project and its extremely close proximity to the water treatment plant for a long time. And therefore, they had time to do something about it before, but we're just learning about this now. So, and during that time, they made no formal objection. Perhaps Nexus can only proceed with its plan as long as the city of Bowling Green remains silent. In regard to Nexus's recent response to our motion to intervene, while Nexus basically acknowledged it made a mistake neglecting to identify a major fault in the pipeline's pathway, it says it intends to install the pipeline through the Bowling Green Fault anyway, without conducting a federally mandated study. The Nexus response also says people do not possess the right to request a study at this time because it would disrupt the project's timetable. However, through NEPA and through our rights as human beings, we are 100% justified in filing a motion to intervene even at this late point in time, and so are you. It is absolutely our right, our responsibility, and our obligation to do whatever it takes to protect our water and our rights whenever we are able to do it. A very small group of us have spent hundreds of hours researching the situation to provide you with adequate information to take action to protect the people who elected you. Tell me you don't think this is a serious problem. Time is of the essence, and we need all the help we can get. Please do whatever it takes to protect our water and to protect the people who depend on it. And and file a motion to intervene. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Schweifer, 907 Thurston Avenue, Bowling Green, Ohio.
Could you
I'm-
spell your last name for me?
Yeah, SCHWIEFERT. I'm from BGSU Dance Marathon. For those of you that don't know about Dance Marathon, we are a nonprofit organization that raises funds and awareness for Mercy Children's Hospital in Toledo. I'm the community outreach chair, and I'm just here to share a couple ways that you as a community member can get involved with our cause. So Ziggy-thon, which is what we call our 24-hour dance marathon, is in April this year, April 8th and 9th, from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. The first opportunity we have is this year we're starting something new where we're inviting community members to come in and sell food and promote yourselves at our community table. So the idea is that you would bring something in to sell and that the profits would come towards us to donate to the hospital. It would be in 2-hour shifts and you would get to choose that shift within our 24-hour time period. If you're interested in that, you can contact me and I have flyers. We're also looking for businesses or groups to hold penny wars. We would provide the jars, pick up the funds, provide letters for you to provide to your employees. You can also make a general donation by writing a check to Dance Marathon at BGSU. And then we also have a couple fundraisers coming up. Every Wednesday, if you eat at Beckett's and take a picture of your receipt and send it to dmbgsukatering@gmail.com, we get part of the funds. And then we also have a fundraiser at Buffalo Wild Wings on March 13th from 5 to 9.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there
Sir,
others?
excuse me, how much are you planning to raise this year?
So we raised close to $500,000 last year.
It's an amazing job coordinated by so many of the students. I congratulate you ahead of time. It's amazing when everybody gets together like you do, the results.
It's also amazing how our community steps up and helps them. They're able to raise funds from restaurants and businesses in town, and not only do the students just an outstanding job that is extraordinary. We're so proud of you, but we're proud that our community steps up and helps you out. Thank you for coming.
Mike, if I could make a comment, I want to say I appreciate environmentalists that come and bring information to us and bring perspectives on serious, complex matters that we ought to consider. I really appreciate the mayor's efforts to look into this and help lead the process. I think it would be extremely difficult for us to act independently of the mayor. Maybe it's legally possible. I don't know about that, but I think at this point I don't see that I'm at much different position personally than the mayor. So I'm sure we'll continue to look into this and get more results, more information, and I think this is the best course of action for us, is to work in concert with the mayor.
Thank you, Bruce. Moving forward to the reading of legislation.
Legislation for first reading. Ordinance number 8567 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2017 and ending December 31, 2017.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 8567 its second and third reading.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Kay, would you call the roll, please?
Gordon?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
McCumber?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Seeliger?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes. The motion passes. The rules are suspended for ordinance 8567.
Ordinance number 8567 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2017 and ending December 31, 2017.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber.
I move to adopt ordinance 8567.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Kay, would you please call the roll?
Jeffers?
Yes.
McComber?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Seeliger?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8567 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8568 for first reading. Ordinance amending and adopting section 33.18 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio relative to salaried employees not subject to overtime pay. Ordinance number 8569 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator and the utilities director to seek qualifications and/or advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services relating to improvements for State Route 25/64 pavement rehabilitation and utility improvements. Legislation for second reading. Resolution number 3660 for second reading. Resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the interlocal purchasing system for the purpose of purchasing machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles and building supplies.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber.
move to give resolution 3660 its third reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Kay, would you call the roll, please?
McComber?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Seeliger?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
The motion passes. The rules are suspended for resolution 3660.
Resolution number 3660 for third reading. Resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the interlocal purchasing system for the purpose of purchasing machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles and building supplies.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber.
I move to adopt resolution 3660.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Kay, would you please call the roll?
Roland?
Yes.
Seeliger?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
McComber?
Yes.
The motion passes. Resolution 3660 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8562 for second reading. Ordinance amending and adopting section 33.01G of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding salary set schedule established. Ordinance number 8563 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts and/or participate in State of Ohio purchasing programs for the purchase of vehicles and equipment, as well as the trade-in, transfer, or sale of vehicles and equipment being replaced and/or no longer needed for municipal purposes. Ordinance number 8564 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to request qualifications and enter into a contract or contracts for professional services associated with a geographic information system joint use pole audit. Ordinance number 8565 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for water distribution and wastewater collection projects. Ordinance number 8566 for second reading. Ordinance amending and adopting section 152.20H1 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding nuisance conditions prohibited. Legislation for third reading. Resolution number 3653 for third reading. Resolution authorizing the city attorney to petition the the Board of County Commissioners of Wood County, Ohio to change township lines.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move that we adopt Resolution 3653.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Kay, would you please call the roll?
Seeliger?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
McComber?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
The motion passes. Resolution 3653 is adopted.
Resolution number 3654 for third reading. Resolution approving revisions to the Parks and Recreation Department section of the Comprehensive Master Plan of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers?
I moved we adopt Resolution 3654.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
The motion passes. Resolution 3654 is adopted.
Resolution number 3656 for third reading. Resolution authorizing the mayor of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio to file an annual application plan and execute a contract upon grant application approval under the Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program as authorized by the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended.
Mr. President,
Mr. Gordon?
I move to adopt Resolution 3656.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Osbacher,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger,
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
The motion passes. Resolution 3656 is adopted.
Resolution number 3657 for third reading. Resolution authorizing the mayor of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio to file a 4-year capital and operating plan for the years of 2017 through 2020 with the Ohio Department of Transportation for grants through the U.S. Department of Transportation as authorized under federal transit laws as codified 49 U.S.C. Section 5311, financial assistance for other than urbanized areas.
Mr. President,
Mr. Gordon?
I move to amend Resolution 3657 by substitution to correct a typo.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call her? Is there any reason to reread the amended version?
No, it just should be noted the dates were changed by ODOT from 2017 through 2021. So
Very
we
good.
needed to include it, made it a five-year thing versus
Okay.
the 4.
Great, thank you. Would you please call the roll?
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes. The motion passes. Resolution 3657 is adopted as amended.
It's amended. Now we need to adopt it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Kay, would you call the roll, please?
Jeffers,
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
The motion passes. Resolution 3657 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8555 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing an agreement between the City of Bowling Green, Ohio and the Wood County Regional Airport Authority.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber?
move to adopt ordinance 8555.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8555 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8556 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator and the utilities director to enter into a contract or contracts with specified vendors for work that may exceed $50,000 annually for calendar year 2017.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber?
I move to amend by substitution ordinance 8556 to include some additional vendors from the original list given the ordinance had its first 2 readings.
Thank you, Bob.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers,
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8556 is amended.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber?
move to adopt ordinance 8556.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Seeliger,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8556 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8557 for third reading, ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for sidewalk improvements, pavement striping, de-icing, salt, and improving streets, alleys, and other public ways in the city of Bowling Green, Ohio.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber,
move to adopt ordinance 8557.
Second.
moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
McCumber,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8557 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8558 for third reading, ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts and/or participate in state of Ohio or federal purchasing programs for the purchase of vehicles and equipment, as well as the trade-in or outright sale of vehicles and equipment being replaced and/or no longer needed for municipal purposes, and declaring an emergency.
We need to adopt the emergency clause.
Yes, please.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber,
move to adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 8558.
Second.
moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Osbacher.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
The motion passes. The emergency clause is approved for ordinance 8558.
Mr. President,
Mr. McComber,
move to adopt ordinance 8558.
Second.
it's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Gordon.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes. The motion passes. Ordinance 8558 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8559 for third reading, ordinance amending the zoning district map of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio for 510 East Wooster Street from B2 General Commercial to B5 Transitional Central Business District zoning.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers,
I move to adopt ordinance 8559.
Second.
moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Jeffers.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8559 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8560 for third reading, ordinance amending the zoning district map of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio for 516 East Wooster Street from B2 General Commercial to B5 Transitional Central Business District zoning.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers,
I move that we adopt ordinance 8560.
Second.
it's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
McCumber.
Yes.
Roland.
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8560 is adopted. That completes the items on our agenda this evening. Is there any other business to come before council? Seeing none, I would make a motion that we adjourn into executive session to discuss labor negotiations and real estate matters.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, would you call the roll?
Roland.
Yes.
Seeliger.
Yes.
Zanfordino.
Yes.
Osbacher.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Jeffers.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
The motion passes. We adjourn to executive session where it is not expected we will take action this evening. Thank you all very much for coming. Have a great night.